Steam Next Fest is back for June 2026, and I've got 10 more games I think are worth checking out if you're a fan of Total War Warhammer 3. We're starting a little far from the fantasy setting of Immortal Empires and instead settling into the life of a diesel punk heavy turret operator. You are tasked with taking on missions from high command, requiring you to map out your targets, calculate trajectories, load your cannons with the required amount of powder, and orient your turret in the right direction, all before you can pull a very large trigger and hope you land true. This is a game that rewards attention to detail in high pressure situations, which does sound a bit like a job description, but what can I say? High command does have some high demands. The demo goes on for a good long while with a variety of mission types that see you working with spotters to triangulate target locations, taking out key targets for command, and even launching airburst fireworks for celebration. The level of detail both in the gameplay and all of the animations here is truly outstanding, even more so when you realise it's being made by two people. Every single action you perform has a real weight to it, which makes sense since you are piloting a 5,000-ton spider turret. Plus, seeing all the cogs turning and my personal favourite, the powder rolling into place, was never not a joy. The full game is boasting a full story campaign along with procedural generation, challenge modes, and far more features than there were in the demo, so it is absolutely one to keep an eye on if you really want to lose yourself into something complex. I'll be linking all the games I talk about today in the description if you want to check them out, and be sure to complete their survey and let them know that I sent you. While we're on the topic of commanding war machines, how's about we go for something a little more modern? Drone Sector sees you in command of a futuristic drone gunship, and the best way to describe it is by saying it's like those old Modern Warfare AC-130 missions, but for an entire game. You'll be in charge of commanding around your forces to complete various objectives, all the while scanning for and eliminating potential threats. This sounds simple, but with limited ammo, you will need to choose your shots carefully, leading your targets to account for travel time to ensure you're not wasting your resources. Plus, you'll have to keep yourself safe from anti-air, eliminating threats, adjusting your flight path, and making use of flares to keep yourself in the sky. This is all whilst also ensuring your troops on the ground remain safe, so you really do have a lot to worry about, even with so much power. For all of these games today, I've been very strict with avoiding anything using AI, and this is the only exception as it states they use it for translation, which I don't love, but at least it's not generative. That being said, the Steam art is a little bit fishy if you ask me, but I digress. Nevertheless, Drone Sector gives you a great mix of hands-on and off warfare, where you command your operation from on high, but also have to get in there and keep yourself safe. If that sounds up your alley, then it's absolutely worth giving a shot. Leaping even further into the future where humanity are all but extinct, you play as an AI despot charged with taking the fight to an alien homeworld with the help of your charming crew of stickmen. You'll need to keep the ship moving through space and defend against waves of alien invaders as you leap your way across the stars. As you move, you'll unlock various weapons, relics, and modules to upgrade your ship, from barracks to train your crew to defend themselves, to banana guns to slow down aliens with banana peels. It's a game that doesn't take itself too seriously, whilst also having a very addicting gameplay loop that made it very hard to put down. If I were to compare this to something, it would probably be FTL, but with a goofier sense of humour and an art style that reeks of old Stickman Flash games. Honestly, the art is what first got me hooked, and it's just a happy surprise that the game is also really fun to play. There are plenty of ships, resources, and things to build, so there is always something to be doing, and direct control always falls to you. It is a challenging game, no doubt, but one that intends you to fail, learning more each run, along with unlocking meta progression to keep the progress coming. It also has a great sense of humour, referencing other star and war-based properties in ways that got a good few laughs out of me. One of my favourites that I looked at of the bunch, and one I'm very excited to play more of whenever it may arrive. Sticking with the space theme but zooming out like a lot, we have Desk Space, where instead of one ship, you're in charge of a fleet. This is an idle game where you send out your miners and traders to make you cash, which you can then spend on more ships, as well as upgrading your operations to make ships faster, and even be able to travel greater ranges for more valuable goods. It is a very simple game where numbers go up, and you click various buttons with the end goal of making the numbers go up a little bit faster. If your brain enjoys that loop, then this is a great one to check out, with minimal visuals that really sell the illusion of having this sprawling company reaching further and further into the stars. Stick it on your second screen, get on with something else, then check back every now and then to put into place a tide of upgrades to keep things running smoothly. The further you go, the more mechanics you unlock, like stock brokerage, pirates, and more. The demo has plenty of features, so I can't wait to see what they cook up in the full game when it drops in just a few days. Scaling back down to more of a one-person production, we have something that I'm fairly sure will look very familiar to you all. Don't be fooled, this isn't just Green Factorio, this is Swarmdustry, a factory game where you play as the alien, not the colonizer, which is certainly a nice change of pace. You are still mining resources, ferrying them between buildings and managing power production, but instead of industry, you're making use of various bugs. Fireflies will roam around powering your factory, haulers will move around on preset paths, and grabbers will keep building stocked with everything they need. It's a really fun twist on the genre that introduces new problems and solutions to keep things feeling fresh. I will say that it has the same problem as Factorio, where the bridge from initial factory to early automation feels like a huge slump, but once you get over it and things are being produced by themselves, it really opens up and the new toolset gives you a lot of freedom of how you want to build. The demo had only a limited slice of the tech tree, but from the Steam page it looks to get pretty advanced with all kinds of insect workers, buildings and more to keep you busy. So if you've ever been playing a factory game and wanted to know what it would be like to take control of the aliens, this is your chance to do just that when it drops later this year. Most factory games have you working across a single map, but how's about we expand to entire planet? Iron Inc. is a factory game like many others where you mine ores, smelt them into ingots and craft those ingots into all kinds of different products. Toss in some research and you have yourself a factory game. Where it sets itself apart from the crowd is how your factories are built on planets that have limited space to the point you can see the curve, no problem. When you run out of space or resources from one planet, you will simply hop to the next, keeping everything linked with various ships to exchange goods. The demo didn't have this ability, but the full game promises hundreds of planets per galaxy, full fleets of ships at your command, and of course trains. You've also got combat and defense to worry about with all kinds of threats coming to wipe your factory off the map if you aren't careful. It's not the first game to do this, Dyson Sphere program of course comes to mind, but it certainly looks a little simpler and more casual if you are newer to factory games and want to give one a go. I personally enjoyed the approach to belts and grabbers, which sets it apart from others in the same niche while still keeping everything easy to understand. The building blocks are absolutely there for something special with this one, so I really do hope they can deliver on some fairly lofty ambitions at some point later this year. But what if instead of worrying about any kind of factory, you just needed to take out an endless number of orcs throwing themselves at your borders? So we have an Orc Problem challenges you to wipe out increasingly large waves of orcs with a large variety of weaponry on a number of truly massive maps. We're not just talking a few hundred orcs, we are talking thousands of the buggers moving like water and all with the intent of wiping you out. You'll have to make use of manually launched missiles as well as automatically firing machine guns, mortars, flamethrowers and more, planning out firing directions and arcs to best take out the horde. But worry not, failure is inevitable and each one nets you resources to upgrade your defenses, edging you a little closer to victory every time. It's just as much a puzzle game as it is a tower defense, as finding the best locations for the best turrets will be the key to completing each level. You'll even need to worry about what weapon types batter orcs around, as they have simulated physics so can be launched onwards if you're not too careful. This plays exactly like a Flash game from nearly 20 years ago, so if you're my age and judging from the analytics, you probably are, this feels right at home. If you want to take on an endless horde of orcs with an endless number of upgrades, then sir, we have an Orc Problem drops in just over a month. Looping back around with something a little bit more medieval with Sword and Road, which places its entire gameplay system on supply lines. You are tasked with capturing various points on the map to enhance your empire with unit upgrades, production buffs and even towers to fire on approaching enemies, all the while enemy factions are doing the same. You will have to manage your limited income of troops, dispatching them where needed to ensure you can capture and hold key points on the map, eventually battling your way all the way to the enemy base and wiping them out completely. It's a very simple game but remains fun for quite a while with the number of different upgrades and abilities it introduces as the game goes on. It's one of those games that feels very easy to pick up but tricky to master, with constant pressure to be making decisions with no answers on if you made the right one up until things play out in full. It's another game that would feel right at home on Flash, and again I mean that in the best possible way. It's basically Total War boiled down to its simplest components, so if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, it's dropping later this year. Now for a couple of wildcards, and first is Forensics Crime Scene Detective. Have you ever wanted to solve cases by photographing and collecting evidence, taking DNA samples from fingerprints and even trajectories from bullets? Well, in this game you do all of this and more in an attempt to solve various cases that come across your desk. Working the crime scene is a laborious process and you will take part in each and every step, extracting hardware from damaged devices, comparing fingerprints, DNA samples and bullets yourself in a search for the truth. It's detail-oriented work that leaves little room for error, so if you like to really push your deduction, this is a great game for you. It really feels like working as Dexter, aiding the investigation without being the one who needs to put everything together before retreating back to your quiet little lab. It's a little jank, but it really has a lot of potential and isn't just another of those cheap simulator slop games. It drops in just 3 weeks, so if you'd like to check it out in full, you haven't long to wait. And as always, we're ending with a real wildcard of wildcards, Duskfade. This is a game that reeks of the PlayStation 2. One of my favourite childhood games was Scalar, and this game feels like playing just that, with all the joys of modern games like better controls, beautiful graphics, and much lighter maps with no load screens. The story setup here is simple, but really echoes of those types of games that it is no doubt inspired by. I personally love how the opening cutscene is almost exactly the same as Scalar, so big points on that from me. On the gameplay front, it's simple action-adventure with lots of spamming attack and dodging with a couple of abilities thrown in for good measure. The dodge in particular has that excellent mechanic where when timing it perfectly, it slows down time, which never fails to feel extremely badass. Between combat, you're platforming around, collecting gems to spend on various upgrades to your abilities. The highest compliment I can give this game is that it felt nostalgic to play, so since you're more than likely all around my age, this will likely be your jam too. It's dropping later this year, and will be pretty high in my wishlist when it does. But if you instead want to know what Total War or Warhammer 3 DLC campaigns you should be avoiding, then check out this video for just that.